Much, Erica, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. What a great morning, what a beautiful morning here in the great city of New Orleans. Welcome to Capital Growth, the road to scalability and sustainability for minority-owned small businesses. This is session 2 of this, what we call a powerhouse series. Our first session was magnificent. And we are continuing to talk to our minority-owned small businesses and our community about what we can be doing, what actions we can take, what lessons we can learn from each other around building scalable and sustainable businesses. So today we are talking about best practices in securing government contracts. I am so thrilled to be here today in partnership with Greater New Orleans, Inc. And our sponsors for this series, HUBZone Enterprises, as well as Fidelity Bank's Power Program. We are so thrilled and so appreciative of the partnership. I am here again on behalf of the Urban League of Louisiana, and I bring greetings as well on behalf of our President and CEO, Ms. Judy Reese Morse, and our Executive Vice President, Ms. Kathy Washington, who is equally excited about this series. You know, we are in the business, our center is in the business of small business development, and we focus primarily on women and minority-owned businesses. And so when we uncover disparities, when we do the work to understand what challenges and issues are available, are present, we make sure that we address those issues head on. That's through our programming, that's through our trainings, that's through our counseling services, and that's in our resources that we bring to minority-owned businesses. And so, again, we are happy to be here in partnership today with Greater New Orleans, Inc. Again, to talk about best practices in securing government contracts. Again, we have a number of speakers today. I want to make sure that we get through and have time to hear from them, but also to get your questions. And so I'm going to now bring up Mr. Michael Heck, President and CEO of Greater New Orleans, Inc., to bring greetings on behalf of the organization, and then we'll move on to the presentations. Michael?
Greetings. Thank you, Classy. Thank you, everybody. It's really great to be here on this beautiful Friday. We made it. I'm thrilled to be partnering with the Urban League and all of our great partners here, and Fidelity Bank and HUBZone Enterprises for the second installment. Last week's Is Your Business Bankable was a huge success. Scores of people on the line, lots of great information. But this one about government contracts is particularly timely. We're working very closely with our congressional delegation and the White House. Everybody knows now we've got Cedric Richmond there now as a special advisor and the director of the Office of Public Engagement. The fact is that there are going to be trillions with a T dollars coming out of DC over the next year for basically what I think I'm describing as a WPA for the 21st century. It's going to be a chance to rebuild America in terms of hard infrastructure, in terms of electronic infrastructure, and for many, many individuals, it's going to be a chance for them to build their businesses and create a lot of community wealth. And so figuring out how to access those funds, how to be part of that growth can be make or break for many people. And that's really what we're trying to get here today. So I want to thank again the Urban League. I want to thank our sponsors again, Fidelity, HUBZone Enterprises, all of our great speakers for being with us here today from the SBA, from LODOTD, and GOSEP. And I hope that folks get a lot out of this and get a sense of the right next steps. And by the way, please, if you want to follow up after this because there's something that you missed or you have a follow-up question, do not be shy. Now is a terrible time to be shy. Reach out to me or to Classy or anybody. You can find us on our websites. Our information's at the end, and we'll hook you up. So Classy, I'll turn it back to you, and we'll get out of the hors d'oeuvres and into the main course.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, so much. Thank you so much, Michael, for the greetings. You know, this again, like you said, this is not the time to be shy. I love that. We are encouraging our small businesses to reach out to the entrepreneurial ecosystem that you have available in your region, please do so. This is, again, just, we're doing this series, but this is just the start of some great things that we're going to be doing in 2021. Take advantage of the resources. You can contact us at the Urban League of Louisiana. You can contact GNO Inc. We are, again, a part of a really robust ecosystem, and we want to make sure that our small business community has all the necessary resources, information, knowledge to really build sustainable businesses. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. We are looking to get past the pandemic, but we're looking to grow and sustain beyond for generations to come. So that is the business that we're in. That is why we work so hard for small businesses, because we know that access to our government contracts, access to building better banking relationships, access to opportunities and serious funding, we know that those are elements of how our businesses can grow again and build generational wealth within our communities. And so that is, again, why we do what we do. So here we are. I want to hand things over to Ms. Jasmine Brown. Jasmine is the Public Policy Manager for GNO Inc. She's going to lead today's session, again, with our amazing guests. Again, I want to thank our guests, Ms. Paula Roddy. I know Jasmine's going to introduce them, but Ms. Paula from the DOTD, Noel, who's one of our clients at the Urban League, Ms. Christina, from GOSEP, and Ms. Joe from SBA. We all, again, are part of this dynamic ecosystem here, and I want to make sure that you all know how important and relevant this topic is, and how, how much we value and understand that, we are not in this alone. And so it takes all of us to come together to work on behalf of our small businesses. And so I want to thank you for that. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jasmine. Take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Classy, and thank you, Michael, my wonderful boss, for your remarks. And I won't be redundant at all, but what I will say is that no better time than now, which is exactly what Michael led with. In the midst of a global pandemic, what is a better time to be able to gain and understand the knowledge and skill set needed to be able to secure government contracts? As we know, government contracts can truly yield long-term and high-dollar opportunities. So we are super excited about this conversation today. We have an all-star lineup. Classy has already alluded to the fact that we have Ms. Joanne Lawrence, who is the Deputy Director of the SBA for the Louisiana District Office. We have Paula Roddy, who is the DOTD Program Director for the Compliance and Program Section of LA DOTD. We also have Christina Dairies, who is the Assistant Deputy Director of Grants and Administration for GOSEP. And then after we hear from all of those wonderful presenters, we will have a fireside chat with Noel Williams, who is the owner of Legacy Restoration and Referral, who has been a recipient of numerous government contracts. So we are excited about getting his insight and intel on the process as someone who goes through the process himself. So without further ado, Ms. Joanne Lawrence, we will turn it over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Classy and Michael and Jasmine, for inviting me and affording me this opportunity to just talk about best practices in receiving federal government contracts. Are you able to see my screen okay?
Looks good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So with the federal government and the Small Business Administration, we work hand in hand to ensure that our small businesses have an opportunity to participate in the federal government's marketplace. So I'm going to cover some of those best practices, which will include the formal certifications that SBA offers and the verification from the Veterans Administration. I'll also talk about how you can access some of what we may refer to as the low-hanging fruit, some of the smaller contracts, and some things that you need to do to be in a position to access those contracts. We estimate that the federal government spends in excess of $500 billion a year. And in 2019, we exceeded the small business goal of 23% by awarding more than 26.5%, or 133 billion to small businesses. So you can see that small businesses are taking advantage of those contract opportunities. In Louisiana, in fiscal year 20, thus far, we awarded over 3 billion to Louisiana-based firms, and approximately 42% of that went to small businesses. So let's talk about the certifications. The Section 8A Business Development Program is a business development program with a contracting component that allows us to award sole source contracts to 8A certified firms up to $4.5 million for services and construction and supplies, and up to $7.5 million for manufacturing contracts. Now, we cannot guarantee that if you get certified, you'll get a contract. However, what we do guarantee is our best efforts to assist you in securing contracts with the federal government. In order to be eligible for the Section 8A program, you must have been in operation for at least 2 full years in your primary industry classification, as evidenced by revenues on your income tax returns. And socially and economically disadvantaged individuals must own and control at least 51% of the company, and they must be in charge of the day-to-day management. So within the Section 8A program, even though we cannot guarantee a contract to you, one of the primary benefits, in addition to business development assistance from your assigned business opportunity specialist, is the opportunity to receive sole source contracts without competing. We have a contracting readiness program that's available through our 7J Management and Technical Assistance contractor. So we encourage those of you who may be interested in the Section 8A program to reach out to us so we can put you in touch with that resource so that they can start working with you to get you ready to do contracts with the federal government. The HUBZone program, and HUBZone stands for Historically Underutilized Business Zone. This is a government contracting program that has a 3% goal to be awarded to those firms who have been certified by SBA as HUBZone. This is an empowerment contracting program that's designed to stimulate the economy in areas where there is high unemployment and low income individuals. This program is race and gender neutral. The requirements are your principal office must be located in a designated hub zone. At least 35% of your employees must reside in a hub zone, and the business has to be at least 51% owned and controlled and managed by a U.S. citizen. So the benefits from the HUBZone program is that you will see contracts where competition is restricted to HUBZone certified firms, and you have the benefit of the 10% price evaluation preference. And what that means is that if you bid on a contract that's not set aside for any small business programs, and you are within 10% of that successful offerer, and you're determined to be responsive and responsible, the contract will be awarded to you. Another benefit is that there is an opportunity for a sole source contract. And we have examples where HUBZone firms have responded to sources sought notices. They were the only firm that responded to that notice. The contracting officer converted that contract to a sole source contract, and that firm was able to get that sole source opportunity. There is a 3% goal for HUBZone contracting, as I mentioned. Unfortunately, since this program has been in existence, we have yet to meet that goal. In fiscal year 2019, nationally, we only did 2.2% to HUBZone firms. So we're really working to ensure that we meet that HUBZone goal. The Woman on Small Business Program, or Woesby, as we refer to it, has a component, economically disadvantaged woman on small business. So you'll hear us refer to that as Woesby and Ed Woesby. This program was put in place to level the playing field for businesses owned by women because they were not being as successful in receiving federal government contract awards as their male counterparts. Effective October 15, 2020, if you want to participate rather in the Woesby Federal Contracting Program, you must have a formal certification from SBA through beta.certify.sba.gov. This program requires that women own at least 51% of the company and that they also control and manage the company on a daily basis. There is no length of time in business for the Woesby or the HUBZone program or the Veteran-Owned Small Business Program. For the Woesby program and for the 8A program, at least one of the individuals upon whom eligibility is based must devote full time to the day-to-day operations of the company, and that means that they cannot have outside employment during normal business hours of the business. Now, we've only met that 5% goal for Woesby contracting twice since the program has been in place. So please know that we're working diligently to improve that percentage. So we're encouraging women-owned small businesses to apply for Woesby certification and start pursuing contracts with the federal government. The veterans certification is handled right now by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So if you were proposing to secure contracts from the VA, you would have to have their verification from the Center for Verification and Evaluation. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2021, and we refer to it as the NDAA of 2021, requires that SBA take over the certification for the Veterans Program, and that now government-wide, in order to participate in a contract that's restricted to veterans, you must have that certification from the Small Business Administration. So now we have 2 years, SBA has 2 years to put that formal certification process in place. But what you want to do now is to at least go through that verification process with the Veterans Administration. So what's the benefit of that is that you will have priority consideration with the VA under their Vets First verification program. And also you will aid the VA as well as the other veterans, federal agencies rather, in meeting their 3% goal. I'm happy to say that for the past few years, we have met and exceeded our 3% veterans goal nationally. And just so you know, in Louisiana, we always meet or exceed all of our socioeconomic goals. So let's talk about some of the contracts that are available to you in these last few minutes that I have. We're going to look at micro purchases, total small business set aside, simplified acquisition purchases. So with the micro purchases, these are purchases that are made via a credit card. So generally purchases under $10,000 are considered micro purchases. Competition is not required on those purchases. Although they are not restricted to just small businesses, you can participate in this market. You must be able to accept the federal government's credit card because a substantial percentage in terms of numbers of government procurement transactions are made via the credit card. You will see total small business set-asides. The federal acquisition regulations provide that contracts over $250,000 are to be set aside for small businesses if there is a reasonable likelihood that the rule of two can be met, and that means that there are at least two small businesses who could reasonably be expected to submit an offer on that contract. Under our simplified acquisition procedures, and you'll hear the government refer to those as SAP. Okay, these are our streamlined government purchasing procedures for contracts under $250,000. So generally what you will see is that contracts above the micro purchase threshold, either $10,000 for supplies and goods, or $2,500 for contracts subject to the Service Contract Act, or contracts $2,000 and above that are subject to the Davis-Bacon Act, which includes the construction contracts. Those contracts up to $250,000 will be set aside for small businesses. Competition will be restricted to small businesses. So again, just as with the certifications, it narrows your competitive arena. These contracts set-asides will narrow your competitive arena because you'll only be competing against other small businesses. For those solicitations that are between $10,000 and $15,000, no public notice is required. All the federal procurement official has to do is to get 3 quotes. That can be from you. So in order to do better business with the government, you have to have an active profile in SAM, the System for Award Management. That's how the government can find you. They can search by NAICS code or keyword and limit it to a geographic area and reach out to at least 3 small businesses that are on that list. Contracts between $15,000 and $25,000 require a public announcement for at least 10 days. And this announcement can be on that federal agency's webpage, in the newspaper, or they may post it in the Federal Business Opportunities website. And once the contract is $25,000 and up to $250,000, a notice has to be posted in the Federal Business Opportunities website. It will be reserved for small business contracting. And over $250,000, it may be restricted to small businesses if the rule of 2 can be met. A synopsis is required, and that synopsis has to be out there 15 days before the solicitation is issued, and it may or may not be reserved for small businesses. So those are some best practices in obtaining the federal government contracts. The formal certifications, 8A, HUBZone, woman-owned small business, and the verification right now by the VA for service disabled, veteran-owned small business, and veteran-owned small businesses. And these are just our figures nationally. As I mentioned, we did approximately $133 billion to small businesses for in excess of 26.5%. And for Louisiana, in 2019, we did over $2 billion, but for fiscal year 2020, our numbers are over $3 billion. And these are those figures. For small businesses, as I mentioned, 42% went to small businesses for approximately $1.4 billion to small businesses in Louisiana. And we exceeded all of our socioeconomic goals, 15% to SDB, 7% to Woesby, 8% to HUBZone, 6.5% to veteran-owned, 5% to service disabled veteran owned, and our 8A firms, 8.5%. And I might add that of that 278 million awarded 8A, the majority of that was awarded on a sole source basis. So thank you so much for allowing me to present. This is my contact information. I encourage you to call our office at 504-589-6685. We have 3 team members that manage that line, and they will get back to you quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joanne. What a great presentation. Next up, we'll have Ms. Paula Roddy, again, who is the DOTD Program Director of the Compliance and Program Section for the Louisiana DOTD. Ms. Roddy, I'll turn it over to you. You're on mute, Ms. Roddy.
All right. Okay, how is that?
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. So I want to say good morning to everyone on this webcast and happy Friday. Thank you for the introduction. And on behalf of our Secretary, Dr. Sean Wilson, I bring you greetings from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. The Compliance Program section actually administers several programs, and the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise and Small Business Enterprise programs are our largest programs. One of the main goals that I set when I took this position was to grow the DBE and SBE programs. So looking at a few statistics before we get into our presentation, the number of DBEs has grown continuously, and although we had a slight decrease in 2020, we know that COVID-19 affected these numbers, but we're hopeful that our numbers will increase in 2021. So LADOTD has several areas where DBE and SBE goals are set on projects: highway construction, the aviation industry, which includes everything that surrounds the airports, IDIQ contracts, so which that stands for indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity, which is primarily used for large contracts. We also have design and build contracts, and most recently our ADA transition plan, which consists of an inventory of all roads and sidewalks in Louisiana and the ADA deficiencies. This plan needs to be updated. It's about 10 years old, and we have to do a new survey of all the roads and sidewalks for all the roads in Louisiana. And so we're definitely going to have a DBE project on DBE goal on this project. This will be a very large project coming forward. As I stated, we want to grow the number of DBEs who are certified, and this involves continuous outreach and networking. This is a partial list of several partnerships we have formed with various entities to assist in our outreach efforts. So before you're able to participate in any DOTD DBE goal projects, you must be a certified DBE or SBE. So you must be a certified disadvantaged business or small business. Each month, the DOTD has lettings for upcoming highway construction projects, and contractors are able to see. Okay, is that better? Okay, there we go. Contractors are able to see the work items and the projects where they're located, and if there's a DBE or SBE goal on the project. The prime contractor who is awarded the contract must use a certified DBE for some of the work items that are on the project. The DBE must be certified in the work area that the prime is using the DBE for. That is the prime advantage of having DBE certification. The DBE is qualified to get that particular work. All the information you need to start the process is on our website, and I can provide some more information on some subsequent slides. So after a DBE is certified, there is an annual renewal process to ensure a DBE remains certified. Now, although the certification process is a process, we are fortunate to be able to offer supportive services for our DBEs who need assistance. This is absolutely free and no charge to the DBEs. Our partners, the Urban League of New Orleans and also SJB Group here in Baton Rouge, are tasked with assisting DBEs on behalf of the LADOTD. Again, I want to iterate, this is of no charge. This is contracts that these guys have with LADOTD. They can assist with your application process. They offer various seminars, webinars, etc. They help you with your business plans. They offer one-on-one counseling, and they also publish a monthly newsletter, which is specifically designed to assist DBEs. My number one advice to a DBE is to make sure you develop a business plan and revisit your plan each quarter. Make adjustments as necessary. How do you want to grow your business? How do you, where do you want your business to be in 5 or 10 years? Make sure you network with prime contractors ahead of time. Reach out to prime contractor estimators, project managers, project engineers for those prime contractors and those businesses, and make those connections. I always start by saying, start small and build your company. Take on small jobs, do a good job, build a good reputation for good work, and then grow your business. There's an old saying, do not bite off more than you can chew. You always want to start small and then build on that. I stated that our highway construction projects and other transportation projects may have DBE goals. If a project is under 500,000, so if it's between 150 and 500,000, it can have an SBE goal. We look at the particular work items on projects. We have a goal setting committee that meets about once every month, and we come up with the goals on these various projects. And if the project is over 500,000, it can have a DBE goal. So these project goals for each of these contracts then feed into our DOTD department goal, which is now at 15% for the next 3 years. This means that we strive to provide 15% of all federally funded project dollars to certified DBEs. As you can see on this chart, we're above the Southern Regional average, and we're second only to Missouri. And overall, we're ranked 12th out of all the 53 states and territories. So how do you get certified? The federal regulation which governs our program, the DBE SBE program, is 49 CFR Part 26. And we have several agencies which can perform these certifications. So this particular regulation governs Federal Highway Administration, the Aviation Administration, and the Transit Authority. LADOTD headquarters here, we can certify statewide. Louisiana, the New Orleans International Airport, New Orleans Regional Transit Authority, and we also have a New Orleans office for LADOTD. They can only certify in the New Orleans Hammond Bridge City area. And these are some of the basic facts about the DBE and SBE program, how our goals are set, and the parameters for the goals on the projects, as I stated before. Now, the requirements that must be met to become a certified DBE are listed on this slide, and I have to iterate, must be followed. There are no exceptions. We have to follow these regulations. 49 CFR Part 26, that is our Bible, and this dictates everything. And as we are looking at applications and documentation that comes in, we have this 49 CFR Part 26 right by us, and we're going down a checklist. These are additional items that we look at to determine eligibility for certification. And I want to point out that the business size standard has increased now to 26.29 million for a 3-year average of your gross receipts. That happened back at the beginning of January. The consumer price index, inflation, that increased. And so it went from 23.98 to 26.29. You also have to show that you have ownership of your company and you're independent, and that you manage the day-to-day operations, very much like what Ms. Joanne was saying with SBA. Now this is our DBE certification landing page. If you'll note at the bottom of the page in blue, this link will take you in blue, it will take you to our application process. And this is the next page that comes up. This page lists the certifying agencies and the regions in which they can certify, the link for the application, along with the directory of all certified DBEs is listed at the bottom of this page. And many times, this is what our primes go to when they're looking for DBEs to work on their particular projects. You have to be listed in this unified certification program. And this is the most important page. This page shows the uniform application link and also the mailing instructions for your application, and also where the personal network form is located at. These documents must be submitted. I want to iterate at this point, the clock starts on your application once we have received all of your documentation. Many times there are some things missing or something that's not quite complete or up to date, and that will delay the process. And this is the certification application first page. It also includes a checklist to ensure that all your documentation is provided. It is several pages long, but the first set of pages are mainly the directions and instructions. As I stated, there are several opportunities for primes and DBEs within to participate within DOTD. These are the contracts that were awarded for the past several years in dollar amounts. And you can see in the blue, these were the contracts that were awarded, and then in the red, the percent that went to DBEs. Now this chart shows the completed contracts and dollar amounts for primes and DBEs. If you look at the green line, you see we've had a couple of little dips, but in this last fiscal year in 2020, it went straight up. Well, that was because of COVID, because so many things were shut down. We had less people on the highway driving, but highway construction never stopped. In fact, highway construction ramped up because we had fewer people on the road. Our highway crews could work literally around the clock and get things completed. So there were more contracts that were completed, more money get into primes, thus more money get into DBEs. And I stated before, we have an overall goal and growth to grow our DBE program. That means to get more money out to the DBE community. As you can see from this chart, our overall DBE goals, we were at 10.47%, then it went up to 13.09%. Now for the next 3 years, it's going to be 15%. And my staff and I have worked very hard with the primes to make sure they're paying the DBEs to get the money out into the DBE community. The way we report to the federal government, we report in the first half of the year from October 1 through April 31st, and the second half through March 31st rather, and the second half April 1st through September 30th. And as you can see, between 18 and 19 and 19 and 20, we went from 8.8% to 10.7, so that was about a 1.9% growth. And in the second half, 10.3 to 14.7, which was a 4.4% growth, for an overall growth of 6.3. And for those of you who know your statistics, remember statistics class, anything 5% above or below is statistically significant. So I thought we did a very good job. While we didn't quite meet our mark at 15%, we came within 0.3% of meeting it. And so that was because of some things that we tightened up as far as reporting and making our primes accountable to our DBEs to make sure the money is getting out there. And as our secretary said, while 15% is good, that is just a goal. We want to exceed that. We want to go above and beyond. And I really think we can do it with some of the reports and procedures that we have put in place thus far. This is my contact information for our web pages, and I hope that we can provide these links to you guys for this presentation. But these will get you directly to our compliance page as well as our application page. And this is my information as well as our DBE SBE program manager, Ms. Rhonda Wallace. She's over this program. She works with it directly day to day. You can call us anytime, email us. We are always here. And I thank you so much for your attention today. And I will be happy to entertain any questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ridey. Thank you for just the wealth of information. Awesome job. We'll move on now to Ms. Christina DeReese, who is the Assistant Deputy Director of Grants and Administration for GOSEP. Ms. DeReese?
Okay, can you see my screen?
We can, looks great. Thanks.
Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Like she said, I'm Christina with the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. On behalf of Director Wascom, I want to thank you for having me as part of your panel. I'll get started real quick and just kind of give you an overview of what our agency does. And some of you may know that GOSEP is in charge of the State Emergency Operations Center. So we receive a whole lot of state requests for support from local governments, that's cities, towns, villages, parishes, state agencies as well, across the board, especially over this past year. So what our Emergency Operations Center does is review those requests. We vet them to make sure it's something that is needed for that state response, and then we go ahead and proceed with either procuring or contracting that type of service. So what I wanted to just really quickly show you is the request process. You can see the way things start at a local level, and that's just to make you aware that there is potential contracting opportunities, not just with our office at the state, but also at the local government level. Local governments are supposed to reach out as much as they can to any municipal assets they have in state stock or with state personnel, state resources, and then they go out for their own local contracts and bids. Many of the local governments, and a lot of them are through the parish government agency, have already started establishing pre-event contracts. That's to get those contractors in place, ready with the right amount of resources or supplies that a parish may have. And then when they have a disaster event, they're able to quickly pull that trigger and get moving on that. So several of the parish governments are starting to do those now. Some have done them in the past years, but with the multitude of the 2020 disaster events, they like to get a lot of those contracts in place. Now, if they can't do that, and that happens a lot, they're not able to supply their own resources from meal MREs, like meals ready to eat, water, sandbags, any of those types of resources, portable toilets and shower trailers, then they reach out to the state. They do this in their web EOC request board. It comes to the parish EOC, that's the office that I sit at. Our staff will vet it, make sure it's a good request, then they push it to my section. My division is in charge of all of the admin and finance that happens during an emergency. In addition to day-to-day, but I kind of wanted to focus on the emergency. What our parish EOC would do is I have a whole lot of pre-event contracts that I have established with the Office of State Procurement. Those are rebid every 3 years. We're doing a major rebid. This is the end of that third year this year for almost all of our pre-established state contracts. So we're going through the specifications on those this month and probably wrap it up in the next couple of weeks. And then all of those pre-event contracts will be rebid. This includes shower trailers, portable toilets, and any of those types of portable use facilities, portalets even. We'll also establish contracts for water and MREs and sandbags. We do base camp services, trucks with just bobtails, trucks with the load, I don't even know, dump trucks and those types of things with the drivers. There's such a variety of different types of trucks with drivers that we'll do. Those are all going out. We also have many requests for material handling type equipment that will be forklifts and portable electric type forklifts, all of those types of things. All of that is currently under review right now and will be rebid. Contracts are established for 1 year, and then we have the two 1-year options for a total of 3 years on those contracts. So that's what we do. We try to have a lot of in-state stock of inventory where we can, and that mostly includes MREs, water, cots that we'll need for some shelter facilities run by the Department of Children and Family Services. But that's mostly what we have in state stock. The rest of that is bid during emergency. Due to the COVID event of 2020, we have now increased our in-state inventory to include just about every type of PPE, that personal protective equipment that you may need, from gloves and gowns, face masks, face shields, all of that. We now have a in-state stock of those. It dwindles, has been dwindling over the last few months. We've reestablished some inventory recently over the last couple of weeks, and then we'll probably be doing some state bids for pre-event contracts we have now to be able to use during a disaster. We have our first call on the PPE contracts next week to start determining the specifications we would like for our in-state stock. And then this would go ahead and establish our PPE vendors ahead of time. That way we're not competing with a lot of the other states and the world if we get into another pandemic event. So that's pretty much what our office does. We will contract out for any local, township, parish government, or state agency if they can't do it themselves. Then there's a whole lot of time over at the state EOC that I don't have a contract, I can't find a vendor for something, and I'm just having a really hard time trying to find the resource that the parish or township has had. So I will reach out to the Business Emergency Operations Center. And I have a slide on that a little bit later, but the Business EOC has really helped me reach out for the hard to get items. They have a lot of contacts nationwide that they will reach out to, and they've been very successful in getting me some of the items that I haven't been able to get a hold of, and very unique items. We were looking for one event just for used pallets to do a lot of transport of supplies, couldn't find a pallet vendor. Business EOC helped me do those. So that's the type of resources and that the Business EOC is able to provide to us. Then after I can't find it with the Business EOC, can't find it with any of my state contracts, can't find a vendor, then I will reach out to different avenues. We reach out, it's called an EMAC, state to state assistance. I will call in Florida to come bring some search and rescue team. You've seen that a lot over the last few events where we have a lot of flooding that's going on during Hurricane Laura and Delta that came. We established a lot of EMAC agreements ahead of the storm actually hitting, and brought in some resources from South Carolina, I think Arkansas, Oklahoma, Florida came in. They pre-staged their search and rescue teams, and they helped us provide search and rescue. Other states can help us bring pretty much any type of resource or supply. It can be equipment, it could be manpower, just about anything. It can be from a local government or a state agency. And I also reach out to the federal government. And a lot of the presenters today talked from SBA, and Ms. Rowdy talked about some of the ways to contract under the federal resources, so I won't rehash any of that, but we do reach out to FEMA for a lot of resources, and they're doing the same thing, using pre-event established contracts or seeking vendors and trying to provide me the resources that I need. So that's just a quick little workflow of how that goes. The other thing I wanted to tell you is these are some of the typical things that I have contracted, and this is really over the last calendar year in 2020. We routinely contract for generators, pumps. That's for think of the river flooding that's happened, any of the hurricanes that come through, tropical storms that'll have flooding. I'll rent a lot of pumps and generators. Talked a lot about the MREs, tarps, ice, any of those types of things we sell. We looked for from vendors. The portable items, that's light plants, showers, toilets, hand washing stations, forklifts, the transportation trucks and drivers, all the PPE. I have rented a whole lot of tents recently. That's for a lot of the COVID testing sites, and they're looking to get established to do some of the vaccination sites with those. So I've rented a lot of tents with the entire wraparound setups, that's chairs and tables and all of that. We also, for the first time last year, did a lot of contracting with, I think, every RV distributor in the state of Louisiana that had some RVs for us to use, and you purchased those outright. And I think I had one vendor I rented about 4 of them for, because it was a really hurry type. They can get them here to me quickly while I was working on the procurement on the others. We established all of these RVs at the state parks. And that was to house some of our COVID positive patients or those that were under investigation waiting on results to come in. So, we still have a lot of those RVs that are set up at Chico State Park that are still housing some of our patients under investigation. A lot of medical staff augmentation. This is looking for doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists. I've done contracts with those, and any type of non-congregate congregate shelters. I think I had a contract with every hotel in the New Orleans area for sure, for the most part. But I had, I think, total of 64 at one point was my high number. Through COVID and Laura, the governor had directed us that he did not want any congregate sheltering where we had mass gatherings of individuals, and he wanted us to put them in hotels. So we quickly, over about maybe 2 or 3 days, established contracts with just about all of the hotels we could find that would take our evacuees to shelter them. And we were doing these contracts, I think, till 2 o'clock in the morning. It was very late, and we needed them pretty rapidly. We were having, I think, 400 people at a time in line down in New Orleans trying to get them into some suitable housing. So first time we had ever done that, and so far it has been successful. Dumpsters, Connex boxes, refrigerator units. That's what I'll show you here is probably the things I contract for the most when I'm looking at supplies or different types of resources. So how does GOSEP notify the vendors of these opportunities? I wanted to make sure you know that, because during emergencies, things are a little different than the normal state procurement process. We still try to follow our procurement rules as much as possible. We get reimbursed by FEMA, or we're eligible to get reimbursed by FEMA for pretty much everything that we expend during disasters. So it's my job to make sure it's always properly procured, and I try to do bids and seek quotes and those types of things as often as I can. The governor does suspend emergency procurement rules during a disaster, but at all times I really try to have my staff, and I work very closely with state procurement, because she actually provides a lot of her staff to supplement and augment my little 1 and 2 procurement people I have in the office. So we try to make sure we still continue to follow those. But what I do is post all of our emergency requests for quotes on LAPAC. And if you're not, I'm sure you're familiar with that, but if not, I have the link here. That's the state's Office of Procurement website. And that's where you will see all of my emergency RFQs. We call them solicitation of offers. That's very similar to an RFP, but it doesn't have to follow the state law for procurement. So we changed the name to solicitation of for offers. And that's the link for there. We also will contact vendors directly. I need something fast. I don't have time to wait for a 48-hour period or 24-hour period to do an emergency quote, because that's typically the time frame for those. It's very quick. I can't wait a typical 30-day bid. I have to have it very fast. So some of the items we do contact the vendors directly. State Procurement Office and my office keep a resource list of vendors for different types of items and resources. Anything I do receive at GOSEP, I'll always push to state procurement, so they have a master list. They get contacted directly. Other state agencies will send them information. So I usually try to use them as my main point of contact when I'm looking for vendors, but I'll also keep those as a duplicate list within my office, and my staff have that. We will contact you, and I will be looking probably for a response within a couple of hours. If it's something that's urgent, I've got to get on site very rapidly. Local government or state agencies are screaming for it at their facilities, so they're lighting a fire under me, which I will turn around and light a fire under state procurement, the vendors as well. And then, like I said, I'll always contact the business EOC, and they will start reaching out to different vendors to see what they can find for me. This is the vendor sender for the Louisiana Procurement and Contracting Network. If you haven't done that, you haven't registered with the state, go get registered. If you don't think there's an opportunity for you, go get registered. There may be an opportunity. Review the commodities. State procurement has a lot of staff, because they have done a lot for me over the last 12 months, working with different vendors to get them registered ahead of time. If you are not registered in the state system and registered with the Secretary of State, I cannot issue a purchase order to you. So we like to get a lot of that done ahead of time. While you're in the process, and I have done this a lot over this last year, we will go ahead and move forward with getting you moving with delivering your items while you're getting yourself registered. I just won't be able to follow up with a formal PO until you're cleared in the system. But get registered with LAPAC, see what's out there. You'll get all of the notices from the different state agencies. Go and register for more commodities than what you think you'll get, just to get a test and see what's being sent out on it. I encourage a lot of vendors to do that, and a lot of them have been able to generate themselves some businesses from that. Vendor registration menu, that's very easy instructions. Contact state procurement. I'm not the expert on that, but that's where we direct all of our vendors. The other thing I will tell you to do is get registered for EFT Payment. This is probably, other than a vendor saying, I'd love to do business with you, the next most calls I know myself and my staff get is, when am I going to get paid once you've delivered or you've provided that service? So we want you to get paid as quickly as possible. Getting registered and to be an EFT payment vendor is the way to do that. That is with our Office of Statewide Reporting and Accounting. It's called OSRAP. This is the form that you would fill out. That's the link for all the instructions. They're very responsive. They're very helpful. You will get paid overnight is typically how fast this gets posted to your account. We tell them 24 to 72 hours, but it happens very fast. Check vendors, you won't get paid until the state issues checks, which is only twice a week. It's a Tuesday and a Thursday when the checks are cut. So depending on when your payment is moved to that process, then you got to wait on the regular mail, which has been delayed extensively over the last year. So we really try to encourage everyone, get registered as an EFT vendor. You can track your payments. It's so easy, and you get paid right away from our office. This is the link to the Louisiana Business Emergency Operations Center. It's something I really, especially small businesses, really want to make sure that you guys are aware of. You can go to their website. They provide not just information about potential opportunities from state agencies and the Emergency Operations Center, but they're also able to help businesses in any of your planning, training, exercises to get ready for any type of emergencies that may happen that may affect your industry. They've done a lot with restaurant industries. They've done a lot with large chain grocery stores, try to get them ready to quickly get back up in business to get that community back after they've been impacted by a disaster. So I wanted to make sure you had that and knew what they were about. And that's just to get registered now. A lot of information on their website you can download. They also do assessments for your agency. They will actually come out on site and help you get that done as well. Post-disaster opportunities. After emergencies pass, there is a whole lot of federal funding that comes into GOSEP, specifically our office. And these are the types of large federal grants that are announced. And then once they are announced, then our office will start issuing very large requests for proposals, or SFOs, the solicitation for offers for these programs. There's the public assistance, disaster case management, there's rental programs, housing programs, and hazard mitigation assistance programs. All of those are specifically related to those disasters. And all of those, you will see typically a new request for program management, technical assistance, some grant management, those types of large multi-million-dollar type of contracts that I will end up engaging with a vendor. And what I wanted to make sure you guys know is all of GOSEP's contracts include language, and this standard state language for the Veterans and Hudson Initiative Program. And that, remember, gives between 12 up to 12 points for the offers to be in the overall evaluation, I think, of 100 points. So out of the 100 points, 12 of them will be set aside for Veterans and Hudson Initiative vendors. So a lot of our large prime contractors have begun to reach out to small minority business owned type organizations. I've seen a lot of that because I've recently issued, I think, 2 or 3 different emergency SFOs, and GOSEP has another one that will be coming out probably next week for disaster case management. So you want to engage, I think someone has said it earlier, engage with the large prime contractors. If you're not capable of probably handling the magnitude of a large contract, come to them and really focus on what you do well and engage with those primes, because they are looking for Veterans Hudson Initiative type vendors. because they want to try to get the maximum points in their overall evaluation, and that means they're successful in probably receiving the award from GOSEP. So these are the types of different types of programs. The other one is public relations and marketing. That has been a variety of different contracts we've done over the last 12 months. That's media buys, ad buys, developing marketing campaigns for the excuse me, case management and outreach we did to get people aware of the impacts of COVID to mental health and those types of services. You see the, you know, I think, can't remember the hashtag, but it's reach out, you know, because if you've been impacted with COVID-19, and we have trained counselors that are available to talk to those people who have been impacted. And so we needed a firm to help us to develop a website and get all of that done. GOSEP does not have that expertise in-house. So a lot of those we've done, I think, 4 different types of public relations marketing firms just over the last 12 months that we have reached out to. So that's the post-disaster opportunities that we have available. What I also wanted to make you aware of is the different points of contact. A lot of my equivalents over at GOSEP is, and we want to make sure you have our name. It's all of our information is posted on GOSEP's website. Our director is Jim Wascom. You see myself, where I'm in charge of all the financial, procurement, and contracting. Chris Gilbo is my equivalent. He runs the Emergency Operations Center. Neil is in charge of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity, our radio system for the state first responders. And Lynn handles all of the public assistance. That's restoring parish governments back to their pre-existing conditions after disaster. Under that public assistance grant program, like I mentioned earlier, you will see a lot of state agencies, typically through facility planning and control, and then a whole lot of parish governments and towns and cities issuing contracts to restore their services. You'll see debris contracts, DOTD, Ms. Rowdy's on the line, they do a lot of that debris cleanup, but some local parishes would engage in that as well. So just wanted to let you know those opportunities. And then Sean Wyatt, he's in charge of the hazard mitigation assistance programs. That grant program is in charge of providing funding to parish governments to elevate homes, retrofit homes, you know, try to mitigate the disaster impacts of any future events. So that's where you're looking. They'll even buy out homes, make it green space, those types of things. So I just wanted you to know who these guys are and what they're in charge of. And then our information on GOSEP. So one of the other things I wanted to make sure I reminded you of is, I think SBA mentioned earlier, you cannot be a suspended or debarred vendor. Since the majority of our funds come from FEMA, from the federal government of some source, we include all of the federal terms and conditions in all of our contracts. You will see that when we're purchasing regular supplies and those types of things, typically that's not the case. You won't see the federal terms there. But when you see our larger contracts, the ones that go out for solicitation of offers or for RFPs, all of the federal terms and conditions, the 2 CFR language, all of that is included in there. So I just wanted to make you aware of it. We will check to make sure you're not a suspended or debarred vendor. So I know that's a lot of information and I talk pretty rapidly, but that is the end of my presentation and I'm available for any questions you guys have after.
Thank you so much, Christina. We really appreciate just all of the presentations from you, Christina, Ms. Roddy, Ms. Joanne, just a wealth of information who have all offered themselves to all of our participants. So please, as Michael said at the top of the call, do not be shy. And just a reminder, we will be addressing the questions that you guys have put in the question feature at the end. We have one more feature for our presentation, and then from there, we'll get to your questions in the chat. We have not forgotten about you guys. So without further ado, Noel, we'll have a conversation about all of the wonderful opportunities that you've gotten to be a part of, the contracts that you've been able to secure. And so as we get started with this fireside chat, it's only appropriate, Noel, that we begin this conversation with an introduction. Can you let our audience know who Noel Williams is, and let them know really what is legacy restoration and referral? How long have you guys been in business, and what kind of work do you guys do?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Noel Williams. I'm the founder and president of Legacy Restoration. I opened my business back in 2017, which was basically my preparation for my transition from my military career. My position was pretty unique. and fortunate actually, where I opened my business while I was still on active duty. This allowed me, the ability to maintain a full-time salary and gave me the opportunity to grow my business for the first year and a half while I was still on active duty. Although I worked in construction in college, my primary background is in business, project management, and also logistics. But I do believe the training, leadership, and experience gained as a military officer is directly transferable to being an entrepreneur in any business. At Legacy Restoration, we are a service disabled veteran-owned small business. We are CVE certified through the VA. We are a disadvantaged business enterprise certified through the DOT. We are PMP certified. Also, Louisiana Economic Development certifications, including the HUBZone initiative that was spoke about, the Veteran Initiative, and various other certifications. We specialize in what we call innovative general construction and construction management. We're primarily responsible for the construction, remodeling, maintenance, and repairs of both residential and commercial structures. Our clients include private agencies, government agencies, business owners, and also homeowners. In reference to certifications, I would say don't let the requirements of certifications deter you. All certifications, they come with a checklist of what needs to be completed. And there are people out there within local agencies who actually can assist you at no cost to get these certifications. We completed all our certifications on our own. We never paid anyone to do them for us. I just say it takes a lot of reading and just a lot of attention to detail, but it's definitely something that could be done on your own.
Excellent, excellent. And more specifically, how have you been able to leverage, or how has Legacy been able to leverage those local, state, or federal procurement opportunities to really grow your business?
We're signed up with various agencies to essentially receive bids and also subscribe to different platforms that allow us to search for public, private, and government contracts. As mentioned with the previous speakers on getting those daily bids that come out. The DBE certification and also the CVE certification has been pretty key for us. We've taken advantage of local resources to help build our back office, in particular the Urban League. So it allows us to have a back office to where we can actually do the work that's required, or the administrative work required to complete these contracts. A lot of people think, you're out there doing these contracts, that the most important thing is actually doing the work, but it takes tremendous amount of preparation and administrative requirements for you to be, number one, to be able to win the contracts, and then to be able to plan the contracts, and then to be able to manage the contracts throughout the duration of the project. We've taken advantage of the DBE program also to enter into a mentorship partnership agreement with one of a larger firm here in New Orleans. That allows us to not necessarily just get a monetary benefit from completing projects, but also in this particular partnership agreement, as a business owner, I'm allowed to embed my personnel within that company, where we can actually learn policies and procedures, learn how they do things as a business, and try to avoid those mistakes that we typically make as a small business. What's important for me too as a business owner is I'm able to tap into the knowledge of that CEO, to speak to them on a daily basis on direct things that really impact us as a small business, where I can actually talk to someone through the process to get things completed properly. Also, our CVE certification allows us to bid on set-aside contracts within the government. Now, I understand to get your CVE certification, you have to be prior military. And obviously, if you have a disability where you can be a disadvantaged business enterprise. But there's other certifications out there that were mentioned. There's the woman-owned business certification. There's also, again, the DBE certification. There's the HUBZone certification, which we're in the process of getting certified. And then there's also the 8A. We've elected to not go after the 8A certification yet. Just because I don't think that we're at a point as a business yet where we're mature enough to take advantage of the 9-year term within the 8A program. Me personally, in my opinion, I just feel that you need to have the proper partnerships, and you need to have the proper bonding in place to be able to take advantage of that program. Also, one of the main challenges as a small business in doing these contracts, obviously, is funding. If you don't have the money up front to do these contracts, sometimes it's very hard for you to actually do the project. Most of us as a small business can't wait anywhere from 30, 60 to sometimes I've had to wait 90 days to get paid to actually do your payroll, get material, etc. to complete these contracts. But there are programs out there that actually fund you to do these projects up front. So I was able to take advantage of a particular program called New Corp, where you have to obviously apply, you have to have your things in line for them to accept you within the program, but they literally fund you to do any program within the city. So that takes the risk out of me saying, okay, I don't have the funds available for me to do these particular projects, and it allows me to go after more of these projects where I know the funding will be in place, and that's one less thing that I have to worry about.
Absolutely. You said something really key at the top of that response, and that is preparation.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the steps that your company took to prepare to make sure that you had enough capacity within your organization to be put in a position to even receive these bids?
I think three key things is personnel, systems and back office procedures, and your bonding capacity. So personnel, you have to have the right people in place. One of the things that was hard for me as an initial business owner and also having a military background is that I did not like relinquishing ownership. So I had to learn how to trust people. I had to learn how to, allow people to do their jobs, because there is no way one person can do everything that needs to be done. So initially I was wearing multiple hats, and I just came to realize, hey, listen, if I'm going to make this work, and if I'm going to grow my business to be a viable business, I cannot do everything by myself. So you have to find the right people, put them into place to succeed, and then you have to hold them accountable. Secondly, you have to have the right systems in the back office in place, because again, there's a tremendous amount of administrative requirements to, number one, even apply for these contracts. Sometimes you're reading over literally thousands of pages of documents, which I would recommend you read every single word, because there's things that could be hidden in there that can have a profound effect on your contract. And also you have to have the right back office systems in place for you to be able to complete these contracts. For instance, just something as simple as completing a G702 and G703, a pay application, and doing a schedule of values. Most of us, me in particular, I would never even sit down and try to do that with an Excel spreadsheet. All right, you have to have the right systems in place for you to be able to do what's required to turn in these particular requirements. It makes no sense for you to do these jobs, and then because you can't turn in the right documents, you can't get paid. And then thirdly, what I think is also huge, the second huge thing in conjunction with being able to get funding is also bonding capacity. You cannot do these jobs if you don't have bonding capacity. And you have to put yourself in a position to increase your bonding capacity. And a lot of that starts with you as an individual, as a business owner, because there's different things in place. You got to have good credit. It's extremely hard to run a business if you don't have good credit. It's good to have, good credit allows you to have different things like a line of credit for you to be able to get supplies. You need to have proper paperwork in place when it comes to your payroll. All right. A lot of us as small business owners, and I was subjected to this initially also, is, you don't do payroll initially your first year, or you don't even put yourself as a business owner on your payroll. There's systems that you have to have in place where it keeps track of your different projects. And I can only speak from this as a general contractor, not necessarily as another business, but for me to be able to keep track of every single project, where I need to know what the project amount was, what any change orders were, was any profit was, any single change on the project whatsoever, where I can run a report at the drop of a dime at an instance and turn it into my bonding agent, to where in turn I can give him the information required for him to give me bonding that I need. To be able to do your accounting and your bookkeeping on an accrual-based accounting method as opposed to a cash-based accounting method. To know your business and to know your numbers as a business owner to where you can articulate and speak about your business, to know why certain things are off, or explain to your bonding agent why certain things transpired in your business. We have to be able to understand that and to be able to articulate that as a business owner.
Good stuff, Noel. Are there any practical tips that you could provide for completing a request for proposal? I mean, you gave some excellent, really practical steps that you took to prepare as relates to people, having that back office systems in place, and then of course that bonding capacity. What about for the RFPs? Any practical steps in completing a successful RFP?
Read. You got to read every single page, literally. I mean, I before I turn in anything, I literally will read something 2 or 3 times at least. And don't let the amount of pages deter you. And again, that's why you have a team of people to help you. All right. Again, it's hard to do this stuff by yourself. My first federal contract I hired a company that would help me to read the documents, to help with the back office. But I was able to hire people who have experience and also who you can train to actually help you with this process going forward. But I would say if you don't have the expertise, hire people that do have the expertise. But you definitely want to read every single document.
Good, very practical. Read in one word. Good stuff. And so to close us out, just for the sake of time, are there any words of wisdom or best practices that you would share with a minority-owned business who may be interested in bidding on government contracts? Any final words? Any advice?
So for me, I wholeheartedly believe in improvement, process improvement, self-improvement. I try to take as many courses as possible. For instance, I took the Emerging Leaders course through the SBA, which was a great course. The 10,000 Small Businesses through Goldman Sachs. I think just because you're a business owner running a company, I think there's always ways to improve, not just yourself, but also the people within your company, to invest in your employees, train them, teach them. One of the things with government contracts I've learned also that worked for us is I try to be the prime contractor as much as I can on a contract. Number one, it gives me the experience. Number two, it also allows me to control the purse. Right? We all know as a small business, you don't want to be a second and third tier subcontractor where it takes forever for you to get paid. Now, with that being said, as a prime, that doesn't mean that it has to be $1 million contract. Right? I believed in controlled growth and going at a pace that I can control being a prime contractor. So I took jobs or, applied for jobs where I know I could handle on my level, and also that I know that I can have funding for.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, Noel, thank you so much for your time today and the practical advice that you've offered to those tuning in. I've learned so much. Read was the thing that really stood out to me, and it's very fundamental, and we can all apply that. So often we get caught up in moving really quickly and wanting to get through things fast that we can fail to really read everything. So to know that reading is very fundamental to this process, as well as making sure that you have your people in place, your systems in place, that bonding capacity, that you're investing in yourself. So thank you for really offering a very robust yet practical just insight and opportunity for those to be able to learn more from your process. And we already see that our other presenters are trickling back in. We're going to transition now to Erica to address the audience members' questions. Erica, take it away.
Okay, absolutely. So our first question is, are the programs that were discussed today available to just the New Orleans area or the state as a whole? Are there any restrictions?
So for Louisiana, the programs that I mentioned are nationwide programs. They're not just restricted to Louisiana-based firms.
Yes, I would have to agree with exactly what Mr. Joanne said. DOTD, it's all anybody, as long as you are in either the state of Louisiana or if you're in another state and you've been certified in another state, for example, let's say you were certified as a DBE in Florida, you send the information to us and we will contact the Florida DOT and they'll provide all the backup information and you can do what's called an interstate certification.
Same thing with GoSep. It goes out to all vendors inside Louisiana and out.
Okay, sounds good. Someone is asking, Lawrence asks, is the information applicable to nonprofit organizations as well?
So for federal government contracting and services, nonprofit entities are not considered small businesses. So you would not be eligible for any of the certification programs that are offered by the federal government. However, with some of the organizations, you will find that there are grants that are available to nonprofit entities. And I want to quickly and hasten to say that those are not grants for you to start a business. Rather, those grants are in exchange for your providing a service to the federal government. So you would, in essence, respond to a request for proposal. And if the government accepts the proposal that you submit, then they will provide funding to you in increments as you provide the service that they are seeking.
Same thing with LADOTD, according to 49 CFR Part 26, you have to be a for-profit entity.
Mm-hmm.
Same with GoSep, but I wanted to make you aware we do offer nonprofit security grant programs, but that is specifically for nonprofits to enhance physical security protection for their agencies. It's an annual award that comes out from Department of Homeland Security through FEMA, and it will be announced the next year for 2021 around the end of February, and my office administers those.
Okay, thanks everybody. The next question is from Monique. It's about contracting with primes. She asks, do we connect with the prime after the award has been made?
My suggestion would be to reach out to them prior to award, to reach out to them during the solicitation phase, because generally by the time the contract is awarded, they may have already determined which subcontractors they're going to use. So on the federal government side, you can view the solicitations at the Federal Business Opportunities website through Beta SAM. Register as an interested vendor so that you can see which of the primes are pursuing that contract. And also SBA has a subcontracting directory that's available at Subnet on our website. At Subnet, you'll be able to see which of those prime contractors have subcontracting plans in place. Generally, they will include which of the socioeconomic groups they're seeking, and they will also list any solicitations that they may have out at that time. I encourage you, as Noel said, if you're going to approach one of those primes as a subcontractor, make sure you read the solicitation carefully so that you will understand how you fit into the performance of that contract. But try to get to them before that contract is awarded, and share with them the value that you can bring to the performance of their contract and to enhance their performance and ensure that they perform successfully and complete the job on time.
I'm going to echo what Ms. Joanne said. I would say don't wait until we have a letting. As soon as you become DBE certified, as soon as we send that certificate to you, you need to reach out at that point to various prime contractors. I would say make appointment with their estimators, their project managers. Go with your shirt on that has your business logo, have a stack of business cards, a statement of the type of work you can do, and make those connections on the front end, because once the lettings are on our website, those prime contractors who are going to bid on those contracts are lining up their DBEs right then in the hopes that they'll be the low bidder. So don't wait until the letting. That's actually too late.
Yeah.
I echo what both of them said. We're evaluating the proposals with the vendors that they've identified in there and scoring them based on the vendors that they've identified pre-evaluation. So definitely contact them before.
Okay, thank you. Julia has a few questions. Go ahead. Did somebody have something? Okay, Julie has a few questions regarding DBEs with LADOTD. The first question is, are there any discussions of integrating the SLDBE program in New Orleans so that you apply once you get both certifications? She said it would be a huge help to small companies to integrate.
At this time, we haven't looked at that, but that's definitely something that we can take up into consideration with my supervisors. That is a very good recommendation. If you guys, Erica, if you could put that in the chat and send that to me, that is something we can start looking at.
Okay, absolutely. I'll send that to you. So, and then her second, her input is, we opted to not do LADOTD because we couldn't get clarity regarding the state registration. We are incorporated in Delaware, but we operate and reside in Louisiana, and we're registered with the Secretary of State there. If we could get clarity on that question, we'd apply. They tried to reach out in 2019. I don't think they ever really got full clarity on it.
So they're registered for the Secretary of State in Louisiana or Delaware?
I believe the way that they worded it, I believe they're registered with the Secretary of State in Louisiana. But Julia, if you want to follow up and verify that with us. Oh, she does say registered as a foreign entity in Louisiana. She followed up.
Does she? And I would need to know if she has certification in her home state of Delaware first.
Okay.
I would, if she could contact me, if she could send me an email or give my office a call, we can give some information, some specifics on her particular situation. Where exactly her business is located, and does she have certification in another state already?
Okay, so the paula.roddy@la.gov?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll definitely let her know. Okay, and then her final question is addressed to Christina, and she asked, can you talk about contracting with GOSEP with regards to communication, data, and tech needs before, during, and after emergencies?
So specifically regarding information technology type needs, those are all done by the Office of Technology Services. GOSEP does not contract for any of those directly. The technology services across state agencies have all been consolidated into one office. So the Office of Technology Services issues information technology needs. We contract for a specific website design, for like grant programs or a certain program that we may have a need for, like we did with COVID outreach for mental health type services. We will contract for those types of communication needs. Developing a information campaign that we did for COVID. You've seen a lot of messages coming from the governor. We use several media sources for that. It was public relations marketing type firms that did those for us. Alpha Media was one, Sides and Associates was another, and I can't remember the other two off the top of my head, but that's the ones that we use to develop that technology. Emergency SOPs were issued to those, like I had mentioned earlier, and that's how those were contracted.
Okay, and then she followed up with a question, is there a regular schedule of RFQs or SFOs, etc.?
For GOSEP, outside of the pre-event established contracts, which those are done every 3 years, like I said, we're in the reviewing of specifications right now for our pre-event contracts for supplies and resources. That's happening right now, so that's going to be every 3 years. Outside of that, unless we have a disaster event, there's not a whole lot of contracts GOSEP will do. So my contracts are very specific to the disaster event. So look for those. When you see Louisiana being impacted, you'll see new solicitations come out from our office, new requests for proposals come out from our office. GOSEP's a very small agency, non-emergency, and we have little to zero general fund from the state that's appropriated to us for day-to-day needs. We literally rely on federal grants that funds our basic office staff, and then during a disaster event, we have 200 and something, and a little over 200 employees, I think, that are just disaster related. So that's where our contracts are for.
Okay, great. The next question is from Peter. Oh, wait, hold on, my screen just jumped. It's actually from Nicole. She is wondering if there's any opportunity for businesses to connect in this region or in this area over this information.
So are you speaking of, is she speaking of like a networking event or something like that?
I believe so, Ms. Jo, I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, what we have coming up is our annual Procurement and Business Development Conference that's scheduled for April 6th and 7th from 9 to, well, actually 8:30 to noon each day. And each of those days we will be holding webinars. And we'll have like rooms where the individuals can meet and engage with the exhibitors, who will include procurement officials and resource partners. So that's what SBA has on the horizon. With our other events that we normally do, like we have for veterans, we do First Fridays with veterans, and it's always the first Friday of the month. We encourage those who participate to engage with one another, either in the chat, and also we give those who want to just share information about what they're doing as a networking opportunity to reach out to others. So that's what SBA has on the horizon right now.
Okay, great. Julia asks, is there a list of contractors based in the state that DBEs can use for client or subcontractor outreach? Are you all organizing more DBE showcase scenarios? Well, we kind of talked about that, the meet and greets. But that's specific to DBEs.
And this is classy. Yes, the Urban League of Louisiana is going to be working on more of these sessions and networking opportunities, primarily meet the primes, right? So we're going to be working on that, but we're also going to be working on networking opportunities for DBEs to connect with their peers as well. So stay tuned. And if you are looking for direct support, if you are a DBE, if you are a minority-owned business, and you are looking for direct support, technical assistance on growing your business, please reach out to us. You can email us directly at DBE Support at urbanleaguela.org, and we can connect you with really all of the resources that we've talked about today, but then also, answer any questions that you have. We do have a number of questions still remaining in the chat, but I know that we are at time, and I want to be mindful of our presenters and their time. And so again, we have all the questions in the chat, and what we're going to do is respond to them offline. But again, if you have any direct questions around any of these programs, please, as I mentioned at the top of the session, you got to utilize your ecosystem. You have to get connected to one of the partners here, whether it's the Urban League, the SBA, whomever it is, get connected, and then we can assist you, right, in navigating the ecosystem for whatever needs you have. So again, let's get you guys connected. There are a lot of people asking about certifications. We do several certifications webinars every year. And so I'm going to be expecting to see all of you on those webinars, right? We do them, and we cover, Ms. Jo and I, we cover all of them, right? Yeah. And so we want to make sure that you understand where to go, who the certifying agencies are, and what best meets your needs. People are looking for the difference, but understanding if they should get certified as an MBE or WBE or the Woesby or DBE. You have to first identify who what your goals are for your organization. Who do you serve, right? Is federal contracting even makes sense for the services that you provide? We gotta uncover that, and so we've got to look at and dig a little bit deeper. That's why I'm asking you to connect to a resource. So let's see. I'm gonna stop it there. Jasmine, did you want to?
That's perfect. Just wanted to thank everyone for joining. We want to thank all of our presenters, of course, Christina, Ms. Joe, Ms. Roddy, as well as Noelle. Today has been truly time well spent. And we really do hope and are expecting that everyone who has attended will take advantage of just this tremendous amount of wealth of knowledge and resources. Everyone has asked for you to reach out if you need, so please don't be shy in that. And we also want to thank our partners in this effort, the Urban League of Louisiana, and certainly our sponsors, Fidelity Bank and Coxum Enterprises. Classy, I'll turn it over to you to close us on out.
Hey, Jasmine, can I mention just one thing? I think that may be of some value. Mr. Noel, when he was talking, mentioned about the RFP, and he said read. You remember? And that was a very, very powerful word. He's 100%. I think Ms. Roddy, I see her shaking her head. As a state agency, that's very, very important. One of the things I just want to mention, if there has been a lot of emergency solicitations GOSEP has done, a lot of regular RFPs GOSEP has done, in addition to other state agencies. You should request public records to get copies of those. I have our legal team, and as soon as an RFP is complete, we get a document dump, get some Dropbox links ready, because I know I'm going to be bombarded with public records requests just from the people that didn't win, that sent me an offer. But find out what the proposals look like, find out how they were organized, find out how someone responded to. There is some proprietary, trade secret type information that'll be redacted, but costs are not something that can be redacted. Regular layout of a proposal, what does it look like? How did they respond to it? You can get copies of those. I have to respond to them all day, every day. We're prepared for that. And we try to give also, when GOSEP does its evaluation, give feedbacks of strengths and weaknesses in that proposal or in that offer. Look at those that we responded to for the various vendors. They're extremely helpful. I really encourage, even if you weren't an offer to one, you could still request a public records of what was submitted. So definitely would encourage anyone to do that.
Good stuff. Thank you for adding that. That's extremely valuable. Classy?
Well, again, I want to thank all of our panelists and guests today. This has been a tremendous wealth of knowledge for our DBE community, our minority-owned businesses, to really understand the opportunities, the government contracting opportunities that are available. This is just a snapshot. There are other opportunities. We just wanted to provide some insight today from the organizations represented here. Hopefully again, in the future, we can continue the conversation with other agencies, other organizations, again, to get you the information and insight that you need. But I must encourage you, all of our small businesses, reach out. Even if, you say, hey, I'm looking for something that maybe you guys provide, we can connect you to a resource. So reach out to us at the Urban League of Louisiana. We can be reached at DBE Support at urbanleaguela.org, DBE Support at urbanleaguela.org. Again, I want to thank GNO Inc. for their partnership in this effort, and also want to thank our sponsors, Coxum Enterprises and also Fidelity Bank their Power program. Thank them. I want to thank them for their support for this series. Again, Christina, Ms. Joe, Ms. Roddy, Noelle, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you.
Thank you.